The strongest man isn't the one who fights back. It's the one who stays unshaken when the world attacks. Bruce Lee mastered that state, the art of being untouchable. And in this video, you'll learn how to reach that level too. Most people are easy to shake. One word, one look, one rejection, and we lose control. If someone disagrees with us, we argue. Someone ignores us, we spiral. And before we know it, we've handed over our peace to everyone around us. Bruce Lee wasn't just a fighter. He was a philosopher of flow. He once said,
"Be water, my friend."
But what does that really mean? To Bruce, being water wasn't about fighting harder. It was about becoming so centered that nothing external could disturb your inner balance. He discovered that real strength doesn't come from fighting the current. It comes from learning to flow with it. Today, I'll show you how to apply the Bruce Lee method, the way of thinking that made him untouchable, and how it can help you rise above the noise, stay centered under pressure, and move through life with quiet confidence. Miss this, and the world will keep shaking your peace. Watch through, and you'll learn how to move through life like water, calm, adaptable, and unstoppable. We all fight battles no one else can see, not with fists, but with thoughts. Every day, your mind faces invisible opponents: doubt, anger, insecurity, fear. One insult from a stranger, one mistake at work, one rejection from someone you care about, and your inner world begins to shake. You start arguing with yourself, replaying moments, imagining what others think of you. That's when you lose, not to them, but to your own reactions. Bruce Lee once said, "The real fight is not with your opponent, it's with yourself." He understood that the hardest battle isn't outside, it's the storm that begins within. When you let every opinion disturb you, you become like a leaf in the wind, blown by every passing emotion. The world owns your peace. Bruce learned early that emotional control is the foundation of power. Before he could master his punches, he had to master his mind. In his writings, he spoke of emptying the cup, letting go of pride, fear, and judgment so that clarity can enter. Because when your cup is full of anger, you can't learn and you can't move freely. The first step to becoming untouchable is recognizing the enemy within. Watch your mind when it starts to react. Don't fight the reaction. Observe it. When someone disrespects you, pause. When plans fail, breathe before you speak. This pause is not weakness, it's your training. Every second you stay calm when your emotions demand war, you win. That's the beginning of mastery. Pause for a moment. Can you feel how fast your mind reacts? How it builds entire storms from a single word? That's the hidden war Bruce Lee spoke about. He once said, "The real fight is not with your opponent, it's with yourself." Watch what happens when your emotions rise. You replay moments, argue with voices that aren't there, and hand your peace over to people who never earned it. But what if you didn't? What if you could see the reaction before it takes over? Imagine a cup filled with anger. Every drop you pour in spills back on you. But when the cup is empty, even chaos can't stain it. Stay with this thought, because that single calm breath is where mastery begins. Now, you've seen the storm inside you. Now the question is, how do you stay calm when everything around you is trying to pull you in? Bruce Lee found the answer not in control, but in flow. He realized that when the mind resists life, it becomes rigid, and anything rigid eventually breaks. So he began to study something that never breaks, something that moves through every obstacle. Listen closely. Water never fights the rock, it flows around it. It yields, but it never surrenders. It moves quietly, but over time, it shapes mountains. This was Bruce Lee's secret: strength through adaptability. When he fought, he didn't resist force. He absorbed it, redirected it, and used it. The same principle applies to life itself. When people insult you, flow. When plans fail, flow. When life changes faster than you can prepare for, flow. Because water doesn't panic when the current shifts, it simply finds a new path. This is the second step of becoming untouchable. Flow like water. The untouchable mind works the same way. It stays aware, flexible, and calm, no matter how uncertain the world becomes. Ask yourself, are you rigid like stone or fluid like water? Every time you argue with reality, you suffer. Every time you flow with it, you grow. True mastery isn't about winning every fight. It's about never being trapped in one. Flow is freedom, but even water, no matter how powerful, eventually comes to rest. It pools, it settles, it reflects the sky. That stillness is not the end of movement, it's the beginning of awareness. Bruce Lee understood this. He said, "It is not enough to act. One must also be. When the motion stops, your mind shows you who you really are." And that's where most people turn away, because silence can feel louder than any noise. Yet in that silence lies the next lesson, the moment when the water becomes a mirror. Remember this, even water, no matter how strong its current, eventually finds rest. It slows, it settles, it reflects the sky. Stillness is not the absence of movement, it's movement mastered. Bruce Lee knew this. He trained not just for strength, but for silence, because speed without clarity is chaos, and power without calm always destroys itself. He once said, "Calmness is the cradle of power." Long before Bruce, the sage Lao Tzu wrote in the Tao Te Ching, "The heart that gives itself to stillness can see the whole world clearly." Lao Tzu taught that when the storm inside you ends, the world outside becomes clear. The wise don't freeze in stillness, they root in it. And that root is the third step to becoming untouchable. Mastering stillness, the art of clarity. Stillness isn't escape, it's preparation. The pause between impulse and wisdom. The breath before the strike. But here's what most people never realize. They chase calmness, but they never train for it. They say they want peace, while filling every quiet moment with noise, because silence feels too loud when your mind is unsettled. So how do you practice stillness in a world that never stops moving? Start small. Breathe before you react. When something upsets you, don't respond yet. Inhale slowly. That single breath separates instinct from intelligence. Find one moment of silence every day. No phone, no music, no scrolling. Just sit, walk, or stare out the window. At first it will feel uncomfortable, but that's the noise inside you learning to quiet down. Watch your thoughts like clouds. Don't chase them. Don't resist them. Just let them pass. Lao Tzu wrote, "Do you have the patience to wait until your mud settles and the water is clear?" That patience is stillness in motion. Move slowly, once a day. Tie your shoes. Pour water. Stretch. Feel every motion, every detail. The goal isn't slowness, it's awareness. Bruce practiced this even in combat. Before he moved, he waited. That pause was his power. Lao Tzu called it Wu Wei, effortless action, doing less, yet achieving more. Because when you can stay still in the middle of chaos, you control its rhythm. You decide when to move and when not to. That's real mastery. So ask yourself, when life demands a reaction, can you stay still enough to respond? The mind anchored in stillness doesn't fight the storm, it becomes the calm within it. But clarity without motion eventually fades. Even still water must flow again. The next step is to move. Not from fear, not from anger, but from intention. Listen closely. Most people don't lack vision, they lack execution. They can see the path, but they never walk it. That is why they stay exactly where they are. Bruce Lee understood this. He said, "Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do." The calm mind you built in stillness now needs direction, because awareness without action is just potential waiting to die. This is the fourth step to becoming untouchable. Action with intention, the art of directed motion. When Bruce moved, there was no wasted energy. Every strike had purpose. Every pause had meaning. That's what separates the restless from the powerful. The restless move because they must. The powerful move because they choose. So how do you practice this in daily life? First, simplify your direction. Choose one goal, not 10. A scattered mind leads to scattered effort. Write it down, define it, commit to it. Second, act immediately but calmly. Don't wait for perfect conditions. They never come. Begin with small, deliberate steps. The act itself creates momentum, and momentum reveals clarity. Third, align your actions with your values. Ask yourself, does this move me toward my goal or away from it? Remember, purpose means nothing if it betrays who you are. Bruce trained his body like a blade, precise, balanced, intentional. But what made him unstoppable was not muscle, it was meaning. He didn't move to impress, he moved to express. That's the heart of this step, because when your action aligns with your purpose, you stop chasing success, you become success in motion. The fourth step to becoming untouchable is action with intention. Calm energy, guided purpose. But listen closely. Even the most focused movement means nothing without the patience to see it through. That's the final lesson. The bloom that rises from the mud. Everyone wants growth, but no one wants to wait for it. That's why most people quit before they bloom. They mistake slow progress for failure and dig up their seeds before they ever sprout. But growth doesn't happen in sunlight alone. It begins in the mud, dark, quiet, unseen. The lotus teaches this truth. Before beauty comes patience. Before mastery comes endurance. Bruce Lee lived by this rhythm. He trained for years in silence, refining movements the world would never see, until one day, those small, invisible efforts became art in motion. The fifth step to becoming untouchable is patience, the art of trusting your process. Real power doesn't rush. It moves when it's ready. When nothing seems to be happening, that's when everything inside you is taking shape. So keep training quietly. Keep showing up, because when your time comes, your growth will look effortless to everyone else. Remember this. The lotus doesn't rush to bloom. It trusts the mud. And that's how you become untouchable. Not by forcing the world, but by mastering yourself. My friend, you've walked through the storm. You've learned to be still, to flow, to act, and to wait. The truth is, strength was never about muscle or dominance. It's about mastering your reactions, your focus, your patience, your peace. Bruce Lee once said, "The successful warrior is the average man with laser-like focus." You already have that power inside you. You don't need to force it. You just need to train it.